All right, it's time for another episode of the Holmes Stretch. My name is Mark. His name is Priest. Priest, welcome back. How you doing, my friend? How's it going today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. This December has been something incredible. For some teams, it's been incredible, and for other teams, it's just been just a poor Christmas time for them. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
should we tear the Band-Aid off? Should we get right into it? I mean,
Man, right into it, man. We come out of Thanksgiving, have a great meal, and for
yeah,
what? Just to experience a December like this? I mean, there's a few teams that are wishing that they could go back and slice that turkey again and
yeah, no doubt about it.
repeat December.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, as we all know at this point, and at the time of this recording, the Chiefs have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. This is something not only the Chiefs but the league and the fans, like, we haven't experienced this for a minute. So, like, this is going to be uncharted territory. I will say there are some fans out there. They've been waiting for this moment. They're tired of the Chiefs, but with that said, things are going to be different, and frankly, I don't think they're going to be the same. Not that the playoffs are going to be bad, they're just going to be different, right? No more Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, no more last-second comebacks. And speaking of Patrick Mahomes, man, you saw that injury towards the end of the game. Then you get word it's a torn ACL. And then your brain is like, how do I process this? This is a pretty devastating injury to a very important key player for not only the Chiefs, but the league as a whole. He's one of the faces of the NFL, and you never like to see anybody go down like this. But that was the news. And Priest, you've suffered an injury like this. You've had teammates that have been hurt. What happens in the locker room? What are people talking about after this goes down, post game? A situation
But
like this.
Here's one thing I think that the players are talking about, and I think that they feel for their leader and Patrick Mahomes. They probably are wanting him to do whatever is necessary for him to come through this initial impact of news regarding his knee. But what you mentioned, there was some key points to this, and one for me is, how in the world, Mark, do you get a surgery that fast? Like, I'm just trying to figure this out, man. I mean,
I'm just trying to get a dentist appointment, Priest.
How do you get into? Well, I can understand getting the MRI,
Yeah,
but to hear that the surgery was well and successful, and waking up on Monday and finding, they've already, before most people have woken up, he's already been taken care of, surgery wise. But I'm glad that they were able to get in there. Obviously, there probably was not a significant amount of inflammation, which is great, probably, to hear, in order for them to get in it so quickly. But I just think with technology and medicine and where it's at today, it just shows you, just how fast these players, can be back on the field once they get through their rehab. But you had mentioned me experiencing this, and the one thing that I can definitely speak towards this is terms of, what it takes mentally, to recover from an injury like this. And the thing that really makes a difference is how you go into your rehab, how you approach that. And, I think that with Mahomes having all of the resources, to put everything around him, to have a speedy return, a speedy injury recovery, I think that, it'll be an opportunity for the team to get together, figure out what their next plans are for him. But as far as the team goes, they've got to get back out there and play a few more games. Now, I don't know how much these games mean to individual players, but I think that
right.
this is the time for, if you're a rookie and you get a chance to get on that field, knowing that, the playoffs has been eliminated, it's a time for those guys that are young guys to get out here and show what they're capable of doing and put themselves in a better position. It took a few guys for when I was playing that went down to give me my shot and my opportunity. The same thing happens for, the next guy, next man up, and so that's the
Right.
rough reality about football. And fans, sometimes it's hard for them to accept that, but it's really the next man up, and it's business as usual.
Yeah, that's how you have to take it, both as a fan, but especially as a player. You got to leap on those opportunities if they're there, even if they're unfortunate opportunities that could possibly play in your favor at the end of the day, right? You could move up that depth chart, get a new contract if you're on a contract year. To the fans, maybe the games are meaningless, but to those players, I mean, they're playing for their check, right? And you've mentioned this before. You don't know who you're playing against. There's people out there that are, playing to feed their families and stuff. And if you cut your intensity down to half speed, you're bound to get injured too, right? You got to maintain that intensity level. I know that's how it was for us in soccer too. If you lay off just a little bit, that's when you get hurt, and it just starts piling up. You don't want to do that either. But look,
Yeah, it's full throttle. I mean,
yeah,
and for guys that, know that they're going to be in there playing and knowing that they have an opportunity to do what's best for the team, they're going to have to make a decision and say, you know what, it's not playoff opportunities, but what is the opportunity that I can gain from getting back out here and playing some good football? For a lot of guys, I think also just the reality of it also, Mark, is, some guys, they're ready to turn it off. You know what I mean?
that's
It's,
true. This could be it.
yeah,
The
some
last
guys, yeah,
hurrah.
yeah. Some guys have already, shut down, because they're looking at, I don't want to risk getting hurt. I'm going to pick my spots to show success and, show flashes. But, it's going to be interesting to see how the team rallies together because, for some people, some fans, they're saying, well, it's meaningless, no playoffs, what the heck. But I'll say this, that, in terms of just this playoff picture, we had mentioned, I think the Chiefs will be missed. And,
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, the Chiefs still have a lot to prove, just for this season alone, in terms of what dynamic and the makeup of the team of what they're going to look like, going into this offseason. So it's an opportunity for guys to be able to, get some playing time, get some film. And so hopefully those guys take advantage of that opportunity.
And it's time to break out those Gardner Minshew jerseys. He's had a few of them. He's got a Chiefs one now. So,
That's right.
so we'll see if we see any of those at the stadium on Sunday. But it is what it is. It's unfortunate. Wishing Patrick Mahomes the best and quick recovery and to be safe and that everything goes well here post surgery so he can get back out on the field because it is magic when he is out there. We've got a very special guest joining us in this episode, Priest. Vince Young. You might have heard of him. He went to the University of Texas there in Austin, your alma mater, and he was pretty damn successful while he was there and had one of the most memorable college games of all time when he scored the game-winning touchdown in that Rose Bowl. I mean, did he run for over 200 yards? He threw for over 200 yards. He scored the game-winning touchdown. I mean, insane. So I'm looking forward to talking to him about that and so much more. But I want to ask you a couple questions about the University of Texas before we ask Vince about his time at the University of Texas. Maybe something you haven't talked about yet on the show. I'll just tee it up that way. But when you're from Arkansas, but you grew up in San Antonio, you ultimately decide to go to the University of Texas there in Austin. Was this your first school that you wanted to go to, or was this like last pick? How was where were they on your depth chart? You can say it now. You've already graduated. You're done.
Well, here it is that University of Texas, that was my last recruiting visit.
Okay.
And there was other schools that I had visited, and my mom wanted me to go to University of Baylor,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, for a number of reasons why, but I just wanted to do something different, and going out of state was something that I kind of like, entertain lightly. One of the running backs that I kind of looked up to was Tony Dorsett.
Right.
And so University of Texas definitely was not on the top of the list, but it was one of those situations that this is what happens, is that once you get to a school and you start noticing that, Texas football, how big that is, how it's so relatable to all the guys that are going to the University of Texas. If you're a top three back in the state of Texas, guaranteed two of those three backs are going to be probably entertained by the University of Texas and probably be sharing the same backfield. So you're always going to be, alongside guys that are very five-star players,
Uh-huh.
might I add. And, it's one thing about Texas, it's just so relatable, when you get a chance to talk about cowboy boots, down south music,
Sure. Yeah.
barbecue. Yeah, barbecue and all the different great players. When you talk about, track and field, I just think, even for the guys that go to University of Texas, there's something that's really very closely put together in Texas is that if you play football, guarantee you're running track. And running track is that other opportunity you get a chance to talk smack against football players. If you lost to them during the regular season, well, best believe when track season came, you were trying to get some get back,
Sure,
at them. And
sure.
so Texas Relays was a huge event over the weekend, course of a weekend. It's like 4 days, Thursday almost through Sunday, it feels like, where you have all the athletes coming to the University of Texas. You even have some of the pro Olympic players that, runners that come in as well. And it's just a great opportunity. And I have to say, Texas is just a large state. It's just everything's big in Texas, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
growing up here, I had an opportunity to fall into that belief as well. Man, everything in Texas is bigger. And so I was really excited about going to the University of Texas. But just to answer your question, it was not my first choice because I wasn't quite sure. All of my uncles and cousins, they either were at OU or at Arkansas, just coming through Fort Smith. But, I was truly converted to a true Texan, with my parents being military. So
Sure.
when I had an opportunity to go to University of Texas, I took that opportunity and I had a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
Because, it was one of those things where it was my last visit. There's not another visit to take. And you've got coaches that are pretty much trying to build their teams. And so
Mhm.
I ended up going to the University of Texas, but John Makovic, who was the head coach at that time, he didn't recruit me. Mick Williams was the head coach at the time that I was being recruited. So I come to Texas under a new regime, new head coach. He didn't recruit me. And it's like starting at ground zero. Like, what in the world have I gotten myself into? I'm like, man, why did I pick Texas? Right. But anyways, it gave me a great platform, and I've made some really great friendships. The University of Texas is a very strong university. It gives definitely back to its former players as well. And as a graduating student athlete, that's really, really big. And that's a high honor for the University of Texas to make sure that their athletes, that they come in on those full scholarships, that they're taking care of business and making sure that they leave the school and graduate.
All right. After you said all that, I'll tell the audience what the truth was. When you went to the campus cafeterias and you went to the fountain drink spot and there was no Texas tea on the menu, you're like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out.
Hey, but I tell you the story about the University of Texas, and I didn't get a chance to tell this. I don't always get a chance to, say these stories and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I don't want to save this one, just for Vince. It's one of those things I like to tee up a little bit. But Mark, I'll share this with you, man. There was a time that our recruiting class, we had such a strong and powerful recruiting class coming out of 1992 that we all stayed on the third floor, and on the third floor of West Jester, which was the dorm that we stayed in, the group of guys that I came in, we made a nickname we called the third floor of the garden, right? And so it's
Okay.
this little story that we had, man. So we had guys that had dorm rooms that were across the hall from each other, right? And there's probably about 10 of these rooms on each side of the hall. And in order to come up the elevator and get off, if you wanted to go walk down our hallway to get to the fire escape stairs, you could. You can either go the back way to get downstairs to go to the stadium, or you could
Okay.
take our floor to go up to where the fourth and fifth floor, where the juniors and the sophomores were at. But we renamed our floor. We called it the garden. And the thing is that we had four players that stayed at the very top of the hall. And then you can imagine four players staying at the end of the hall where the fire escape door was.
Okay.
So anytime we had anyone that was not part of our recruiting class that dared, Mark, I said dared to
Okay.
walk through our floor, and we always had our doors open. As soon as someone saw anyone that didn't belong on that floor, we would always say garden alert. So all you would start hearing people say garden alert, garden alert.
Oh
And what that
no.
meant is for all of the freshmen that was on that floor, we would come out of our dorms. And if you weren't a freshman and you weren't on our recruiting class,
Yeah.
oh man, a
Game
beat
over.
down was about to happen.
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
man.
So
Okay.
yeah, so we had juniors, we had seniors, we had the juniors and seniors, grouping up together because we had them in such fear not to walk down our floor, man. Because
Mhm.
I mean, it was a bunch of wrestling and bruises and beating up and punching on each other, but for the most part, it didn't get too carried away to where somebody really significantly got hurt. But we made an emphasis emphasis that you do not walk on our freshman floor, you know?
I see you saying emphasis in air quotes.
That's
Phrase
right.
the air quotes. Garden alert.
The gardens, the
Nice,
garden.
nice. I love it. The Wicked Garden. Yeah, nice. All right, very cool. Well, we're going to get to Vince Young here. Very excited to have him on, so stay tuned, everybody.
Breaking news from Bet365. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Sign up, place a bet for $5 and get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, player props, futures, and so much more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Hey, do you have a gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. Or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 21 plus only, 18 plus in Kentucky. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, and select parishes in Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. $10 minimum deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only.
This has been a Playmaker production.